Hi, and welcome to LNA Does Audio Stuff. Hey, I just want to introduce to you my new acoustic treatment panels. I have new panels on left and right of me, as well as I have the corner bass traps behind my speakers, and behind the camera there's also two diffusing panels. They're very heavy, very pretty, and they are doing wonders to this sound. This video is literally about the fact that people like me and you, who are just creators, music producers, who are maybe beginners, enthusiasts, students, or industry professionals who want to create very good sounding home studio, but there is limitations, and these limitations are the things that I'm going to be talking in this video. Budget, room, space, having a rented flat where you might not be able to put stuff on the walls. All this stuff will be covered in this video so that you can actually have a good sounding music studio as well at home, because we all deserve it. We're so worth it. Yes, we are. So I had the pleasure of talking to GIK Acoustics, who also have sponsored this video, and they are such an amazing company, and I'm honestly saying this from pure of my heart because they have really taught me so much, and they have changed my whole attitude towards acoustics in the home studio, and learning the importance about them. I had the pleasure of talking with the customer service manager called Lucas over the internet, and I have asked him 3 questions about tips to creating the best sounding home studio that you can have. But also in the end of this video, I show my reflection of what I learned from him and from this whole process, as well as I show a comparison of how this room sounded before and how it sounds now. I have also made a more detailed home studio tour to my Patreon account, so please go and have a look from there if you want to know more how I set it up. So please go to the link down below. But let's now listen to what Lucas has to say and what were his professional tips to people like me and you wanted to just have the best sound ever.
My name is Lucas. I'm the customer service manager at GIK Acoustics Europe. And yeah, what I do is I consult customers on any kind of acoustics question, but we give people the full consultation service as much as we can remotely, of course. We have a 3D software that is rather easy to use. It works web browser based, so they can just create their own room in a 3D app, send that to us. We can add the panels and show them how it would look. We help them to measure the room, learn how to measure their own room. That whole thing, everything that can be done remotely, we offer as a free service. You know, when they're interested, they can then order the panels and install them themselves, which is quite easily because mostly they're hung like pictures.
What would you say that is your 3 tips for home studios?
One of the main things that aren't discussed as much is really how to set up. So where do you set up your speakers, your desk? Where do you sit within your room? What's your distance from your front wall? Not often, but sometimes you get people that have a really crooked setup. They say, well, I cannot change anything about it. You know, it's questionable if they will ever get a really good result. And we are honest enough to tell them that, because without a proper setup, you won't be to monitor properly, because you need to, of course, see the impact that a wrong speaker placement can have. Apart from that, what I always tell people, if you want to set up a small home studio and you might be on a budget, I would cover what we call the early reflection points. So that's basically the left and right of your listening position and your ceiling above. That's really important, as well as the back wall behind them, because those are the main reflection points where we get a lot of issues. Apart from that, obviously, corner bass traps, and then you can go a lot, you can do a lot more than that, but those are the basics where I would say everybody that has that done can at least listen properly and make somewhat good decisions, maybe in combination with a bit of headphone monitoring and, working around the bass response, because that usually is the last thing that will be a bit difficult to fix.
So when we're talking about the installation, I feel like one of the problems I've had and what I feel like a lot of people have is renting, especially when you're renting, the amount of nails you can put on or the amount that you can drill. Do you have any tips on what can you do for those spaces?
Well, I just did a room like that today where there was no drilling, no nails, no nothing. And we have a lot of freestanding products. So our corner bass traps are usually freestanding anyways. And then most panels we can equip with stands, or we have a freestanding equivalent. So what I do then is I really create a freestanding version of what I would do if I could hang panels on the wall. The only problem you're going to have is the ceiling, of course. And to be fair, what I usually tell people is if you cannot go and hang anything on your ceiling, the next best thing to it is probably getting a bit of decent studio acoustic foam and putting that on your ceiling. However, gluing things onto walls or ceilings can be a problem with landlords as well. So, yeah.
Do you ever see like common issues that people do? Because I bet you see all kind of things.
Yeah, and certain things actually come up all the time. So
yeah,
one big issue that you will see often is simply, well, it's hard to call it an issue, but the bass response is something a lot of people come to us about. You see a lot of foam-based solutions and they don't really work well in the low end. Some people learn it the hard way and spend a lot of money on so-called foam-based straps, which, only really work to about 200 hertz maybe. And that's when, often you will start by replacing the corner bass straps for that room to show these customers what a mineral wool-based solution can do for them. And that's where we often get involved. Another thing is also speaker placement, SBIR. So it's speaker boundary interference response. The distance of your speakers to your front wall. Many people think you can't put your speakers close to the front wall, even though often that's the absolute solution to their problem. And once they put the speaker right against the front wall, especially with studio monitors, the issue disappears because it's the closest thing to flush mounting a speaker, really. In 80% of the cases, it's the best solution for that issue.
That is especially a topic where, example, my table is completely next to the wall. I don't have space much around them. And the amount of comments I get that you're not placed that correctly and stuff. But actually now I know that it just depends, doesn't it?
Especially in small rooms, actually. There's two things, the SBIR issue and your listening position. And usually you want to sit at about a third of the distance from the wall into the room.
Yeah.
So that can only be achieved in a small room by sitting very close to the front wall. Many customers also start out little with a few panels. So that's the beauty about having a modular system where you can just keep on adding and you don't have to spend a huge amount of money to get started.
So, a little bit about my experience, reflection with this whole process. It changed my life a lot. It sounds really dramatic, but it has really changed the way that I can work in this room and what kind of stuff and quality I can do. What I have understood with this process is that I wish I would have understood the value of proper acoustic treatment in the beginning of my career. Instead of going to maybe and buying the best or the most fanciest speakers or keyboards or other gear or microphones, maybe I should have used some of that budget to actually, get a proper acoustic treatment in the beginning. Because why to get a good speakers if the representation of them is not good in the room? Or why to get a very fancy microphone if your room sounds really bad? I never thought I can have a good sounding room because I'm renting and I just need to settle for what I get. Or that I always thought that these kind of panels are way out of my budget. but actually they like the price of them is less than I thought. They work in similar prices that good speakers do or good microphones do. So actually, if I can afford to buy good speakers and a good microphone, then I could have also afforded to slowly collect a good collection of acoustic panels. And that is really something that I've learned a lot. Maybe the focus has been in the wrong place. I kind of were afraid of approaching companies like this because firstly, there's a part of me that were afraid of judgment, like being embarrassed of showing what kind of space I work in. It's so silly that I even thought that, but I did somehow think that I'm not rich enough or I'm not big enough to approach a proper acoustic panel company. Where GIK Acoustics have really made me understood that I could have easily just approached their customer service agents and just ask a couple questions and be like, this is my budget, what can I do with it? What kind of panels should I invest to? And, you know, instead of buying really shitty, foamy panels that don't really do much, I could have just waited a little bit longer and get a proper ones like in the beginning. Hey, okay, so let's go into the comparison. So a comparison, is that even a word? I'm not really sure. So because of the timing of creating this video, I didn't have time to get a measurement microphone to measure the frequencies in this room. Unfortunately, I need to do that another video. But what I managed to do now is that I sang a song in this room before the acoustic treatment, and now I'm gonna sing again. And you can download the files from my website because I haven't done nothing to the audio files, so you can just actually hear like how much this has affected the recordings. And also with the microphone, I'm not recording like direct signal, but I'm doing slightly away so that you can hear the room more. Okay. And would it be easier to break those ties, to get yourself your own life? And would it be easier to break those ties, to get yourself your own life? I am so freaking grateful for GIK Acoustics to literally show me a new world, for sponsoring this video, to being kind and understanding to creators like me, and being approachable. And I really hope that everybody who's been watching this goes and checks their website out and create those fun 3D modular things out of your rooms, because I think everybody should do that. It's really fun. Please subscribe to this channel, please hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next Sunday because I post every single Sunday and you want to be here for that. So I'll see you later and have a nice day. Oh, sorry. Bye.